What happens when wild nature is forced into captivity? The shocking story of Jessica Radcliffe and Titan the Orca reveals a tragic moment that changed everything. This isn't just a tale of one fatal attack, it's a haunting reminder of the hidden dangers we ignore when we try to control wild animals. Stay with us to uncover the truth behind the tragedy and what it means for wildlife everywhere. Jessica Radcliffe was more than just a skilled trainer. She was a rising star in the marine performance world, admired for her deep connection with the animals and over a decade of dedicated experience. She lived her dream every day, but on one tragic afternoon, in front of a live audience, everything went horribly wrong. The water roiled violently and Jessica vanished beneath the surface. A moment that would forever change the marine park industry and exposed a secret no one dared to speak aloud. Long before she faced the immense challenge of working alongside a 6-ton killer whale, Jessica was a young girl from a small Midwestern town, captivated by the ocean despite never having seen it firsthand. While other children played games, she memorized every fact about marine mammals, knowing every dolphin species and orca name at Sealand Marine Park by age 12. On her 13th birthday, a trip to Sealand on Florida's coast introduced her to her first orca up close, sparking a fierce determination not just to visit but to belong there. In her 20s, she began humbly, cleaning buckets and studying animal behaviors, learning before she ever wielded a whistle. Yet her passion propelled her rapidly through the ranks, becoming a senior trainer who specialized in behavioral enrichment and forging close, almost familiar bonds with dolphins, belugas, and eventually orcas. Jessica wasn't merely a trainer, she was family, attuned to their moods, signals, and even their pain, believing wholeheartedly that a bond between human and whale could be built on trust. But trust with a predator of Titan's magnitude was fraught with unpredictability. Titan, before he was a star performer, was a wild calf no older than 2, swimming in the cold, dark waters off Iceland's coast, learning the complex songs and clicks of his pod. That life was shattered in 1983 when nets captured him, separating him from his mother and dragging him into captivity forever. From the start, Titan struggled. Small tanks, relentless noise, and isolation from his family led to aggression, first directed at other orcas, then growing more troubling. In 1991, tragedy struck when a female trainer slipped into his pool during a routine session. Witnesses said Titan pulled her under, and despite rescue attempts, she died. The incident was ruled accidental, with no clear evidence of intent. Titan was moved to Sealand, introduced as the park's majestic new star, larger and more powerful than any whale they had before, but behind the scenes, trainers grew uneasy. He ignored commands, refused to eat, and incidents of aggression increased, casting a shadow over the park. Yet Jessica believed in redemption. She trusted that, with patience and care, Titan could be rehabilitated. What no one knew was that Titan had already crossed a dangerous line, but no one thought tragedy would strike again. On a typical February afternoon, with a packed stadium full of families, tourists, and children, Jessica prepared to perform the show's finale, a routine she had executed flawlessly dozens of times. Titan surfaced with a splash, the crowd cheered, and everything started perfectly. He leapt, spun, and splashed in seamless harmony with Jessica. But then, in a horrifying instant, everything changed. Titan's massive jaws snapped shut on Jessica's ponytail and violently yanked her beneath the surface. The audience was momentarily confused. Was this part of the show? But Jessica didn't resurface, and Titan refused to release her. What followed was a terrifying display of raw power as Titan thrashed, dragging her under again and again. Emergency alarms blared, trainers threw nets, flashed hand signals, and offered food rewards. Nothing stopped him. The attack lasted over 30 agonizing minutes until her lifeless body was finally recovered. The stadium fell silent. The music cut abruptly, sirens wailed, and staff shouted urgent commands into radios. "Code black! Code black!" Trainers scrambled, desperately trying every practice cue and incentive, but Titan was unyielding. Witnesses described the scene as surreal. Moments of Jessica gasping for air before being dragged down by thousands of pounds of force. Spectators shielded their children's eyes. Others kept filming in stunned disbelief, and screams faded into a haunting silence. He's not letting her go. Oh my God, is this real? Jessica was pulled under again and again. At one terrifying moment, Titan surged from the water with her lifeless body trailing beside him, limp and motionless. It took more than 30 agonizing minutes for the team to finally isolate Titan. Only then could they retrieve Jessica's body. The injuries were catastrophic. Reports described blunt force trauma, severe lacerations, and complete loss of life at the scene. By the time the crowd exited the stadium, there were no more screams, no applause, just an overwhelming silence. They had just witnessed a nightmare unfold in real life. The park was shut down within the hour, gates locked, shows canceled. Local authorities launched a formal investigation, while federal agencies stepped in to assess what went wrong. Jessica Radcliffe, just 38 years old, was pronounced dead at the scene. Her autopsy later confirmed what many feared. She died from a combination of drowning and massive blunt force trauma, consistent with being dragged, struck, and repeatedly submerged. The story exploded across news networks worldwide, with headlines looping non-stop. Trainer killed by killer whale. Orca turns violent during live show. Talk shows, cable news, and online outlets debated every detail. But this wasn't Titan's first involvement in a death, and soon the public demanded answers the park wasn't ready to give. Animal rights groups reignited their long-standing campaigns against orca captivity. Protests erupted outside Sealand's gates. Hashtags demanding justice for Jessica and freedom for Titan trended globally. Sealand issued a carefully worded statement calling the event a tragic accident and expressing condolences to Jessica's family. But behind the scenes, damage control was in full swing. Staff were instructed not to speak to the media. Internal memos leaked, revealing the park had documented behavioral issues with Titan for years, but continued to use him in shows despite multiple red flags. The conversation shifted. It was no longer just about a tragic incident, but about an industry built on spectacle and the high cost of entertainment when dealing with wild, intelligent predators. For many, this tragedy became a turning point. In the weeks that followed, Titan was permanently removed from all public performances. No more shows, no more crowds. He was confined to a backstage tank, out of view and out of the spotlight, but never out of public conversation. Jessica's family, once quiet in grief, now spoke with poise and purpose, demanding answers not only for themselves, but for every trainer who had ever risked their life without knowing the full dangers. They challenged Sealand directly, pressing for transparency and accountability. They were not alone. Across the country, safety audits were launched at marine parks, and new regulations barred trainers from entering tanks with orcas during live shows. OSHA handed down fines and mandates that forever changed how these parks operated. But the legacy extended beyond policy. It sparked a cultural reckoning. In the following years, a wave of documentaries and exposés surfaced, most notably Blackfish, which drew heavily from Titan's history and the events leading to Jessica's death. The public began questioning not just how these animals were treated, but why they were kept at all. Petitions flooded in, protests grew louder, and attendance at marine parks declined. The illusion of harmless entertainment had been shattered, and it was Jessica Radcliffe's story that shattered it. Her name became more than a headline. It became a symbol, a warning, a reminder that even the most experienced and beloved could fall victim to nature's unpredictable force. Jessica Radcliffe became the face of a global reckoning. Was this preventable? Could her death have been avoided? Or was Titan a wild animal, captured from the sea and destined to lash out? Was he a victim too, bound by the captivity that robbed him of his natural instincts? When we examine Jessica and Titan's story, we're forced to ask, when wild animals are put on display for our entertainment, who's really in control? Is it the trainers who dedicate their lives to understanding these creatures, or the animals whose true nature can never be fully tamed? These questions linger, the tragedy of one woman, one whale, and lives forever changed. It's a story that shook the world and opened our eyes to a reality we can no longer ignore. What do you think? Could this have been prevented? Should animals like Titan be kept in captivity for our entertainment? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more real-life animal stories that shook the world, subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more stories that reveal the truth behind the headlines. Jessica Radcliffe's story is more than just a tragic event. It's a powerful wake-up call for all of us. Wild animals are not entertainers. They are sentient beings with instincts and emotions that captivity can never erase. When we can find them, we risk more than their indifferent lives. We risk human lives too. This story urges us to rethink how we interact with wildlife and the true cost of forcing nature into unnatural spaces. Protecting animals means respecting their freedom and understanding their power. Every ticket bought, every show attended, fuels a system built on exploitation, not care. We must raise awareness and advocate for change. Support sea sanctuaries, demand safer regulations, and educate ourselves on wildlife behavior. When you encounter wild animals, remember their nature deserves respect and caution, not control. Share this video to spread the message and help prevent future tragedies. Together, we can honor Jessica's memory by creating a safer, kinder world for both humans and animals.